Blackpink's Born Pink album just dropped and it's left me with so many questions like, where is Jisoo? Why did you cut the song there? And 8 songs for how much money? YG Entertainment, we need to talk. Annyeonghaseyo friends, I'm Jonathan Miller and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. Blackpink is back after 2 years with Born Pink, and this album has been one of the most highly anticipated albums in the global music industry of 2022. And as a big fan of Blackpink, I was super excited to hear it for the very first time. Normally when I do album reviews or genre deconstructions, I prefer to focus on the positive aspects of a record and highlight all the moments that I love, which I will be doing today. But after listening to Born Pink for the first time, I feel it would be dishonest of me not to call YG out a little bit with this one. As an artist myself who knows the K-pop industry, who knows the American music industry, as a music content creator, and as a K-pop historian, as you guys have recently started calling me, it would be irresponsible of me to be anything but real about this album, and more specifically, YG's treatment of Blackpink. So I need you to know that nothing I say today is against Rosé, Jennie, Jisoo, or Lisa specifically. I have no problems with them very specifically on this record or their performances. I love them, but Born Pink is not a reflection of them. It's a reflection of YG's treatment of them, and kind of YG girl groups as a whole. When critiquing a K-pop album, I can't apply the same dynamics I would as a Western artist and say things like, oh, I love that this artist chose to do such and such thing, unless it's specifically a project where the artist is definitely more involved in the overall creation of the record, such as a Stray Kids album, for example, because everything has to be approved and filtered by YG Entertainment, especially in the case of Blackpink. YG calls the shots on track list, productions, song length, song selection, branding, image, etc. Everything goes through Hwang Bo-kyung as of 2019. So when I listened to Born Pink for the very first time, I had to separate my expectations from what the album actually is. Those are two different things, but equally as important. Overall, I feel Born Pink is not a bad album. It's a confusing one, which will undoubtedly cause many people to label it as bad, I'm sure. But when I first saw that 8-song track list, my heart sunk a little bit, because after 2 years of waiting, YG decided to go with their tried and true method of forcing Blinks to be content with what's presented to them and consistently drive up those record-breaking achievements rather than fully embrace the popularity of the world's biggest girl group currently and maximize their reach, growth, and potential. I myself have produced 5 full-length albums before. So generally speaking, I can follow an album's track list and pacing no problem, because the track list is the story of the album. Even factoring in that people nowadays will skip around on streaming services, the story in your track list is the overarching body that communicates a certain feel to the listener. Even in K-pop, where the market is different and all the choices have to be filtered through a Korean market lens, track listing is still an important factor in crafting an album, especially given the fact that full-length albums in the Korean music market are very special bodies of work, usually serving to highlight a certain moment for the group or the solo artist. What YG gave Blackpink and Blinks, however, is 2 single albums, a solo song, and a bonus track. That's not fair to anyone, the Blackpink members, Blinks, or even casual fans. Frankly speaking, it's not acceptable, especially for that price. Solo songs or even special subunit songs on full-length K-pop albums is not new, nor is it an out-of-place thing. Twice's Formula of Love album contained 3 subunit songs towards the end of the record. Girls' Generation's first album contained a Taeyeon solo song with Kangta. The Stray Kids album Noisy had again 3 subunit songs. Even Big Bang's Made completed album had subunit songs. The list goes on. So Rosé having a solo song with Hard to Love itself is not a strange or weird thing to have on a full-length K-pop album by a big-name group. However, what does make it weird is that on my 4 previous examples, all of those albums have track list lengths at least 10 songs long, meaning there's still a ton of new content for fans to enjoy, so that the subunit or solo song becomes a special moment on the album rather than feeling out of place. I also know in the American music market in particular, we're not really accustomed to having solo songs on a group album. The reason is because of American culture and our long history of having solo moments for a group, usually meaning that that group is about to be over. So I can imagine that at least abroad, some people will probably feel that Rosé's solo song is the odd man out, when that is not fair to do to Rosé. Another reason it's weird is because it's not even the song she co-wrote on the record. Jisoo and Rosé's Yeah 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 could have been a really cool subunit moment for them if YG really wanted a solo or subunit song on this album, but YG chose not to do that. That's setting up Rosé to potentially potentially be unfairly criticized in foreign markets, and it's not okay. What it is another example of YG stealing potentially golden moments for this group. Speaking of stolen moments, where is Jisoo on this record? She has a beautiful voice. She can belt. She can sing high. She can sing really low. Her lower tone is beautiful. And the fact that the only member who is well known not to have a solo yet, I'm sorry, Snowdrop doesn't count, is shoved lower in the mix. So it's really hard to hear her on certain parts of the album, minus a few awesome moments on Pink Venom, Shutdown, and Tally very specifically, is criminal. You couldn't have rearranged things just a little bit on Yeah 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 so that Jisoo could have a really cool and powerful moment on the song she co-wrote, knowing full well that Jisoo hasn't had her rightfully deserved solo release yet? It's such a shame that songs like The Happiest Girl don't highlight Jisoo's gorgeous lower register, because that song in particular is absolutely a standout from Born Pink. As the album's only ballad, it gives such warmth to Jennie, Rosé, and Lisa, and they sound so good. But Jisoo is kind of mixed on the lower end, conflicting with the instrumentation, so even though she has some solo moments, she kind of blends in. That's a choice. Producing a song is a series of choices, and that is one choice I did not agree with. Also, the track list in particular is almost completely incorrect. Peaks and valleys design the flow of an album, especially when trying to balance the title tracks, other singles, and B-sides. It's common for K-pop title tracks to be at the top of a record, so leading off with Pink Venom and then going into Shutdown doesn't bother me at all. I have literally no problem with that. On a typical album, generally speaking, tracks 3 through 5 are usually where you start adding some dimension to kind of fluff out the record, but what YG chose to do was make Type of Girl a fire hip-hop song. The third song, which at least for me, gave me the impression at that point of what the record was probably gonna sound like after that, given that the track list was so short. After that, I kind of figured Born Pink was gonna be a westernized hip-hop album, which is totally fine with me, not a problem. I'm totally down for that if that's what it was going to be, but it's not. If Yeah 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 had been track number 3, it would provide a little bit more dimension, offer some surprises, and break up the hip-hop dominating sound of the first 2 songs ever so slightly to create some auditory interest. In fact, if these had to be the 8 songs, this is the way I would reorder it. This would break up a lot of grouping of sounds that Born Pink kind of does. It adds some more auditory interest in terms of peaks and valleys, especially in song energy levels, and it would also highlight key moments for the group. 8 songs is not a lot of space to work with, so when putting together your tracks, you've got to get your aces in their places to not only showcase them, but also help lift up your B-sides. You can single stuff a little bit at the beginning to draw people in, but give your B-sides some support so that they, in turn, can help support your singles so that people keep buying your record. This album, like any K-pop album, contains a wide array of genre influences, and none had me more excited than Gugok, aka Korean traditional music. When I heard that in the teaser for Pink Venom, I was so stoked that they were gonna fuse that into their music. What a beautiful, cool East meets the West fusion to highlight the global appeal of Blackpink while also continuing to introduce K-pop and Korean culture to the world, while everyone's eyes are on them. Yet once again, that was left off the album. Instead, they lean more into an American style of music, which is fine, I totally get it. K-pop is a business and Big Bang did it all the time. K-pop is influenced by Western music, that's not a secret. But not including that feels like such a missed opportunity and something that they could easily pull off. Now, I will give YG some credit for at least highlighting it in the music video for Pink Venom. We at least got that. I know it sounds like I'm slamming the album, but I'm really not. I'm frustrated with YG's choices in handling the world's biggest girl group currently, because they're setting them up to potentially get more criticized than is warranted, because they either have some incorrect assumptions about K-pop, or they think artists are treated exactly the same as they are in the West, and they're not. They are 2 separate industries. Blinks and other K-pop fans might be able to see right through what YG's doing, but casual listeners won't, and that doesn't sit right with me. This isn't unfamiliar territory with YG either. For some reason, YG just has not figured out how to properly treat girl groups groups yet. 21 was no different than Blackpink during their time, one of the best girl groups in K-pop's second generation, winning multiple awards, breaking grounds, viral hits, and helping to open the door for K-pop in the West, and a long list of record-breaking achievements. But YG also kept 21 in the dungeon too, holding back releases, keeping them on hiatus for long periods of time. They don't do this stuff with Big Bang, Winner, Treasure, or Icon. Most of their studio albums have 10 songs or more. It's literally just girl groups, and it makes no sense as to why, except the whole giving fans less means driving up the record-breaking achievements, awards, and all that other stuff. It really makes no sense, although it does make me wonder a little bit about misogyny. Sometimes I just want to ask YG, like, do you not want money? Because you've got millions of people around the globe ready and willing to throw their credit card at you. But instead, in order to keep your accolades and record-breaking streak, you kind of punish the idols doing the work and the fans who just want to support their favorite artist. The fan-artist connection is a beautiful, emotional, and special thing. And YG's kind of taking advantage of that beyond just marketing and business. I know music marketing pretty well, and I don't really like that. Going back to the music, I had a few more issues with YG's production choices. For example, why do so many songs follow the doo-doo-doo-doo structure of going straight into an outro or just ending when you very well could have circled back around and created a really cool climaxing chorus and then having your awesome outro? I didn't want songs like Type of Girl and Yeah 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 to end, but they just seemingly stopped for no reason. I know streaming makes you want to have songs that are less than 3 minutes, but if that's the case, why were songs like Pink Venom and The Happiest Girl okay? Short songs are great, and I'm all for experimentation in songwriting, but there's no reason Yeah 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 should just randomly fade out, for example. Don't make a song short just to make it short, especially when you know fans are already upset about the lack of music from their favorite artist. This album is depriving fans of great, amazing music, and it's noticeable in the productions. These girls are worth money. Don't invest thousands of dollars into 4 trained vocalists and dancers, and then just absolutely refuse to highlight their gifts. They've literally worked too hard for that. I mean, even factoring in import fees and production costs, $40 to $50 for an album like this is unacceptable to do to fans. You want to do like 25 to 30? Absolutely. But $50 for an album that is less than 25 minutes? I don't really agree with that. And the thing I hate the most is that if I strip away all of my expectations and feelings about YG's treatment of Blackpink and focus solely on what the album actually is, I genuinely like the whole thing. If I accept them for what they are and not get mad over an orange not being a strawberry, I don't take much issue with the music in Born Pink. I love hearing more of Rosé and Jisoo's writing. The Happiest Girl plays into their deeper ranges, and the girls sound gorgeous. Tally has a great message about being yourself and adds a nice layer of maturity to this third generation girl group. Yeah 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 is an excellent synth pop offering that, even though I do wish the chorus wasn't basically just instrumental, it's still refreshing and a great break from Born Pink's more hip hop dominating sound. Hard to Love is a great song overall, and I really like Rosé in this style of music. And Ready for Love is a fun EDM offering, especially with the way Hey is stacked in the chorus. Oh, that's one of my favorite production sounds in pop music because it really highlights how good they sound together. Shutdown is super catchy, and its blend of classical and hip hop is magical. Pink Venom, including Korean traditional music, is an expert level move that I would love to hear more of. But YG's treatment of Blackpink can't be ignored. I don't even want to give the album a rating because I know certain people would take that and think it's a reflection of Rosé, Jennie, Jisoo, and Lisa, and it's not. Like I said before, I personally have no problem with them on this record. My issue and the reason for making this video is with YG and YG alone, specifically when it comes to this album, because while the members may have occasional input, a K-pop album is designed and approved by the company. And I, like many others, am tired of Blackpink being used by YG as a tool for manipulating blinks and force their hand into driving up sales, views, and more because they're so desperate for Blackpink music. We are desperate for new Blackpink music. YG knew they could take shortcuts with its biggest active group on its roster, create a lengthy promotional campaign to drive up sales and hype, and even dangle a large-scale world tour in front of fans, while knowing full well they weren't going to give the members a real chance to shine, and have the world fall in love with who the girls really are and see the talent that they absolutely have. In almost any other case, a successful campaign like this would just be really good music marketing. But after listening to Born Pink, it's clearer than ever that YG doesn't really care about its biggest moneymaker the way in which they should. In that way, sure, the album is disappointing. In all the ways outside of that, I quite like Born Pink. This album is not a misstep. It's not bad music or even a bad Blackpink album. I think the members did the best they could with what they were allowed to do, especially when you remove expectations and listen for what it is as a hip hop, synth pop, and Western pop infused K-pop album. However, YG's treatment of Blackpink and the attempted manipulation of Blinks who are no longer being fooled really has got to end. Frankly speaking, I hope Jisoo, Lisa, Jennie, and Rose don't renew their contract with YG, and another label fights like hell for them to give them the proper treatment that they deserve. It would be an unprecedented move in K-pop that might have cultural repercussions in terms of hate they might receive for leaving, because I don't want Blackpink to break up. I don't think they need to. And I guarantee you the girls don't want Blackpink to be over either, but let these girls fly and succeed. They deserve it. If in the future YG just wants to do boy groups, let them do boy groups. They clearly know how to handle those, but don't train young girls for multiple years and then kind of punish them when they actually achieve success for your company. Blackpink as a group and individually has so much collective talent and potential, but YG just absolutely refuses to show it. I genuinely hope people will still listen to this album and not hate raid them, because the members of Blackpink deserve to be seen and heard. They can really only do what their company allows them to do when it comes to the music, which is why we never got an official release of that Bella Poarch and Rose collab. Who knows how many other collaborations are out there floating. YG is the puppet master behind Blackpink, and although I enjoyed many aspects of Born Pink, YG's treatment of the group has never been more evident than on this album through its musical construction, track listing, price tag, and production techniques. It may be hidden under record-breaking achievements, a world tour, big budgets, brand collaborations, and international appeal, but it's there and it needs to stop. So stream Blackpink's Born Pink, but stay critical of YG Entertainment, even if it does feel a bit like playing with fire.